Fortunately, another hearing for which I was scheduled had been postponed so I could deal with Mr. Akbar's crisis, which involved this outraged phone call in which he said, if I want safety in a kitchen, go elsewhere, because we were expected to live with no kitchen and a microwave that zapped the electricity. And then, if you want to be a nun, go be a nun. I took that to be a religious harassment surrounding the fact that he accepted $200 from St. Vincent de Paul Charity to offset a portion of our deposit. Or maybe he meant, you'll have to ask him, but maybe he meant that if you want to be a goody two-shoes and follow all the laws, go somewhere else. Because this was essentially a criminal operation where I was expected to cover up for what appeared to me to be wrongdoing that had a legitimate need to be whistleblowed. You'll see, like, there's a notification he put on everyone's door that I was his temporary manager. He dates it as a 4/12. I believe our agreement was as a 4/7. And the agreement was that I would manage the property at a rate of $360 a month. It would possibly be ongoing. And you don't know, if you've never been low income, how beneficent that opportunity looked. Because if my rent went down from $850 down $350, that would give me more money for food, for George's grandbaby, for paying off debts, for any numerous amounts of things towards saving. So I didn't really like the shouldering that responsibility and the absence of any other available candidates who were not on drugs or whatever, or extremely busy. I felt that, well, this is an opportunity. But once he decided to kick me out within 10 days when my rent was paid in full through the end of April, which I paid for February, March, and all of April, and I've been induced to work in April with no pay, then he wants to throw me out homeless, basically. And everything was very tense. He ran through all my cell phone minutes with his management. He did not reimburse me for that. I wanted to let his anger cool down because I felt that he might come back down to a more rational frame of mind once he got through the process. Eventually, we spoke on the Sunday before he called the city. I tried to give him a pep talk about, you have to look at it as I'm not against you, I'm on your side. I want this building to come to a positive resolution. Whether it needs to be torn down or completely revitalized, I'm not the expert at housing things. What he ended up doing, though, is hiring a new manager, Sean Raffington, who I would have asked to be a witness, but I believe due to his complexities of his witnessing in the Northwest housing case, has washed his hands of this matter. But I sent a letter, which is in here, an email, to Sean saying, heads up and warning, you might not be paid for your services. What do? He's retaliating against us for contacting the city. Should we move? Should we pay? Can you get him to pay me for my manager roles? Because at that point in May, if he had paid me $360 or half of $360, or however he wanted to look at it, as well as what he had offered to pay me $35 a month for sweeping the stairs in the laundry room and taking the garbage to the street, it's disputable whether or not he owed me $200 to $500, a very small sum. When he's trying to kick me out within 10 days, I say, well, where's my deposit? Can I have my deposit back? This is very sudden. I will need that deposit if you expect me to successfully move elsewhere. He said, well, I'm not giving you your deposit. Take me to court. And his insistence that he refused to give me my deposit, well, I've got to backtrack back to April 12th. We had a rational conversation. He did not know at that time that the city had inspected the day before. But I was able to speak to him about, I don't feel safe with this electricity. I do not like entering another tenant's unit in this informal arrangement to flip the breaker. I feel that it's a setup. It could be mischaracterized as a burglary. It's dangerous. Someone else could move who has guns or is a dangerous or violent person. I don't want to be entering another person's apartment. And it's completely illegal, which the code, Tim Samples writes that up as a code violation to force a tenant to do that. So Mr. Akbar, in kindness, had said, well, you can leave in a month and a half. So as of April 12th, I put as the forecast for my move out to be not the end of April, but the end of May. And I asked him, will you be giving me my deposit back? And he said, well, he would follow the law at that point. When Sean became the manager, Sean led me on. He became the manager Cinco de Mayo, 5th of May. And I immediately started emailing him. We've got to meet. We've got to talk. What do we do? Meanwhile, we were trying to get George in through his application at NOAA, which turned from call us immediately at the end of April to dragged out for 3 weeks. So we were on the edge of hopefully getting an apartment for George, at least. And when I spoke to Mr. Raffington, Sean Raffington, he told me over the phone, oh, no. The landlord cannot retaliate against you for contacting the city. And he can't be charging full amounts of rent for all these delinquent circumstances like erratic, dangerous electricity and sewage pipes and an unfire safe door and no kitchen and all these numerous problems like no lighting, etc. And from there, we kept trying to get a meeting, and Sean led me on that I would have a meeting. And I hoped that would be a full accounting of what is my move out, what is my check through, what is my deposit, who owes who what are my wages. Instead, he went down with a forged and perjured document to the county court and filed that the first eviction. When I helped Raffington understand, no, Mr. Akbar has forged and falsified a 72-hour notice and served it in a perjured document to the court, Raffington was appalled and went down and filed for a dismissal of the first attempted eviction, which was approximately, I think, the 14th. And I was appalled too, because I've never been evicted before. I didn't quite know the ins and outs of this, but I understood quickly that there was a falsification of a document that was never served. And so that was dismissed. That bought us a little time. But Akbar, when I saw him on the 7th of May, seemed that he was in still a very agitated state. He asked me to continue to let workmen into the property, which we had nothing but workmen in the property while we were there. Eventually, one of his workers, Dave Mason, made reports to the violation department with Bob Mitchell that there was, hold on one second. System low battery. There was numerous invasions of people's property, including while they were not there. That, of course, was alarming. And
Can I ask a question? Who was Dave Mason again?
He was a worker who was working on the falling-in roof that was causing the mold and mildew that had seeped through the whole house. Don't get me started on the atrocious conditions for the Latino family who had a falling-in ceiling over their stove, dripping brown water, people living in a rotted ceiling kitchen pantry. There was a homeless man living on the porch because his ceiling had fallen in. So the entire time that I lived there was this mysterious circumstance of the homeless man on the porch who was actually the resident in the overcrowded apartment full of subleasees who became the next manager after I left. I have the police report to Officer Davidson was very polite and kind to me to recognize that running the microwave shouldn't cause this much trouble. There's also Muhammad, basically his very angry letter to me to evict me for using what he calls a cook pot. It was clear it was retaliation. What I found out through research, when he tried to evict me with the property company called Soktoshi Pen, I did a simple Google of it and found out that he has similar unfair trade practices in Pennsylvania, where his tenants have complained of black mold and other problems and excessive gouging of the tenants for the problems in the building. So that was interesting to me, maybe not relevant to this case. I was concerned about the wiring of money, and I wanted to speak to Raffington by May about my bank, Wells Fargo, says you should not be using Zelle MoneyPay to wire money, especially if you're not getting the product that you've asked for. I'm not getting electricity. The plumbing is super irregular. We've got this sewage smell. We've got constant invasions of the property. I was made to feel guilty every time I took a shower because the shower leaked on the Latino family down below. And what I was looking for in terms of this case is that if you are able to evaluate the diminution of habitability provisions in 93.75, for me, the monetary figure that I put on this case was really is sidelined in my consciousness, because the main point was we're doing the best we can, we're being honest, we're helping the authorities get involved. Why hurt us and why approach us with such a inflammatory response? I expected my wages. I was unable to get them through BOLI. They referred me to the U.S. Department of Labor. That's just impossible to reach. And then I would like to know what the code enforcement is that happened. Bob Mitchell said that it was confidential and that he could not tell Dave Mason, who I tried to call for a witness. And David filled me in. Yeah, there has been a huge code assessment. I mean, at the very least, Mr. Akbar's counterclaim is contradicted by his previous statement to me that I could leave in a month and a half. Mid-phone call, he changed it to 2 months and a half. And this was sort of normal with him, is that he'll say one thing and forget it and then change it to something else mid-phone call. So